this proposal. Slide please. Each group will have a total of 15 minutes and 10 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for feedback and Q&A. Panelists should speak first and provide their feedback. Respond respectfully after they've shared their insights. The class leader will manage the timing and cue the panelists throughout the presentation. Signals will be given as follows. The presentation timing will start with panelists will start and then with 5 minutes remaining, 1 minute remaining, and then time session.
So the feedback and the Q&A time. First there will be a start signal, then there will be 3-minute signal, and then a 1-minute signal, and then finally a time. You may use up to 2 4x6 cue cards per student, subject to approval by your supervisor. Use these cards as guides rather than scripts. Please remember to be respectful and maintain silence while in the venue. And of course, believe in yourself and do your best.
Now let's get to the heart of today's event, the presentations. Each group will have 10 minutes to present their proposal, followed by the feedback of our esteemed panelists. First up, we have the group of Mr. Josiah Ante presenting their research, Artificial Defense, a study on generative AI-based technology, with members Lucas Josay, Matthew Marcos, and Jamila Bernie.
Give them a warm round of applause.
Let's go, Lucas, Josan.
Artificial Defense, a study on generative AI-based technology. We are Group 4 of 11 Tsuji. I am Josh Ocante.
And I am Matt Marcos. I'm dressed up as the AI Blazer.
I am Jamila Bejarana. I'm dressed up as Mona Lisa.
I'm Lucas Sosol. I'm dressed up as everyone's best friend, ChatGPT.
So first, let's go over the problems here. Now, the statement of the problems here is generative AI art poses a threat to integrity and creativity due to its tendency to steal training data from unconsenting artists, which moves us on to our Philippine social reality. Now, the Philippines is an economically deficit country which cannot afford to support these artists and their creative endeavors in a way that is substantial. And couple this with AI's crippling effect on artists' creativity, as I will expound on later on, this leads to these artists being pushed back and having less than what they deserve, less creativity than they deserve, and less sovereignty in this regard. Which moves us on to our research gap.
So in our gap, we state here that generative AI art possesses a threat to integrity and creativity due to its tendency to steal training data from unconsenting artists. There are many problems with AI glaze and prevention methods. That includes changing too much of the art to the point where it looks bad, how easy it is to bypass, and the fact that it's very ineffective. We want to try and find the weaknesses of these AI glaze and fix them in order to further protect the digital artist's art.
Which moves us on to the background of the study, right? Our topic wants to address the poor regulation of AI content that uses private works to train their models. And to protect these artists, of course, laws have to be passed. But until those laws pass, until those law reforms take place, we want to provide these artists a way to protect themselves until then. And with that is where our glaze comes in, right? Our study wants to analyze AI glaze in its current form and analyze its shortcomings and potentially make a new glaze that is accessible and less prone to failure. These are our two things that we want to address here. It has to be accessible and less prone to failure while also being effective. We aim to study and find weaknesses in current glaze technology, find weaknesses in the technology we make, and address these and make something better to help further protect digital artists, art and digital artists' right to creativity.
Now moving on to the significance of the study, our hypothesis states that what are the implications and concerns regarding generative AI-based technology in protecting digital art, and how can this technology be improved to better safeguard artists' work? For our theory, the percentage of glazing on a data set to be fed into the AI model will have an inverse correlation with the inception score of the produced artworks. This will be derived through Pearson's observation. For the impact on the community, the purpose of this study is to increase art integrity and protect their work. The problem is that AI can easily generate art in artist styles, often using their works without permission. And for the goal of this research is to provide artists who want to control the use of their creations and present unauthorized AI replication. For a research question, what are the implications and concerns regarding generative AI-based technology in protecting digital art? And how can this technology be improved to better safeguard audience work? This table shows that our independent variable is the level of glaze with 4 varying levels, the dependent variable being the inception score of the generated image using inception v3, and the AI model is through OpenAI.
So let's go over a review of related literature. First, AI art and its impact on artists. The rise of generative AI tools in the creative process has raised questions about implications for creativity, ownership, credit, and the future of creative work. As AI and AI art as a whole is a very contemptuous field that splits artists apart and uses their work without credit most of the time, which leads us to AI cost-benefit analysis. AI presents significant opportunities. Of course, you can see that AI can be good, but in this case, it also poses serious risks to artists' copyright, to artists' creativity, and to artists' right to be able to make art that is theirs as a whole. As when you put these art into these training models, you're essentially using their art without their permission, which is the case for most open AI art models right now, which leads us to the ineffectiveness of AI prevention methods. AI is ever learning, evolving, and will eventually adapt to different prevention methods, such as the glaze right now. But until then, right, until this time, we want to buy these artists time, and we want to buy them a way to defend themselves until things such as reforms, things such as laws are passed. And that's what we seek here. We seek to buy these artists time, and we seek to buy these artists protection through our model.
Okay, so this is our conceptual framework. This framework examines how AI-based technology helps protect digital artists' unique styles from being copied by the AI. It evaluates the tool's effectiveness based on factors like social media exposure and the type of artwork. It also considers how artists' experience, public awareness, and legal systems influence the tool's success and artist satisfaction. The goal is to identify weaknesses in the current protections and suggest improvements to better safeguard digital creativity.
And with that, this is our research design. The research uses a quantitative with a quasi-experimental design in order to identify how the level of place affects the inception score and conclusions were drawn accordingly. The main method of data collection was through the inception v3 system, which evaluates the legibility of artworks through its neural network. Pearson's correlation was used to analyze the relationship, aiming to identify an inverse correlation between the level of glaze and the inception score.
Now on to the sample. We have came up with 3 categories of images, that being realism, stylized, and abstract. All of the images were collected from DeviantArt, the public domain, and are the size of 700 by 700 pixels in the PNG format. All of the artists have at least 2 years of experience and were notified of the use of the artwork.
Now, that moves us on to sampling methods. The samples we chose were consistent of artworks by artists with 2 years of experience and were hand-drawn either digitally or traditionally. We then used stratified sampling to group these into 3 genres. Realism, which had the subject meaning to be human with realistic rendering with a background grounded in reality. Stylized, with the subject identifiable as human with a background semi-grounded in realities. And finally, abstract, with a painting containing at least rigid shapes with defined lines containing set shapes. The 12 samples were then randomly selected from each category. Okay, now that moves us on to instruments used and why. Well, we use OpenArt's training model because it is the standard. It is based on OpenAI's training data, and thus, when we're able to tackle this problem on its biggest standard, we're able to show that our work is able to be used in every single platform, or at least the platforms that matter, which leads us on to what platform we're using to glaze said art. We're using Procreate, because Procreate is the platform used by most artists, and it is the cheapest platform, only requiring a one-time payment in comparison to Photoshop's multiple monthly payments, which then tackles our accessibility problem that we stated before. Now onto Inception v3. Inception v3 and Inception scores are the standard when grading AI artworks and their legibility and effectivity, which is why we're using this card. Next one.
So on to the procedure. We have came up with 12 images per category, being realism, stylized, and abstract. And we also have made 4 levels of glaze, that being no glaze, low level glaze, medium level glaze, and high level glaze. So in low level glaze, we have 1% Gaussian, 15% noise, and 5% color halftone. For medium, we double it, and for high level, we triple it. Next, we have OpenAI's model training tool, which is used to be trained based on the images that we glaze. And then after that, we make the tool create images based on the level of glaze and the category. After that, all of these four images are going to be scanned by the inception B3 to get the inception score of each image.
Now on to the data analysis. This test contains two variables, the percentage of glazing and the inception score. Pearson's correlation was used to determine the relationship between these two variables. The data collected provided a numerical value representing correlation. Through this, the study ensured the precise and objective understanding of the relationship between the variables, aiding in the evaluation of the impact of glazing techniques in AI-generated images.
And for our ethics, this study of proven ASHS Visual Integrity Board explores how AI glaze can reduce energy using AI-generated images and promote fairness in the creative industry. It ensures ethical practices by using only voluntary participants' shared output with consent while safeguarding privacy. Data is then securely restored, and the research prioritizes sustainability, honesty, and responsibility in supporting artists and the environment.
In conclusion, we are fighting for a world wherein these artists are given the right that they once had before the age of AI. And when we give this sovereignty back to artists, we are able to then foster a place of creativity for all.
We now open the floor for the panelists' remarks and questions.
As someone who's not educated on AI age, I did not find very helpful introduction as to what it actually is. So what I gathered from the first few parts is it's an AI prevention tool. But then at the later parts, it showed an image of the dog, and then you have with or without glaze. So I'm not sure. Can you help me connect the dots?
Oh, we're sorry, yes. The image of the dog is what is generated by the AI without the glaze. It was a realistic style image. But then with the glaze, it changed the style incredibly, which is what the glaze wants to achieve. It wants to change the style that the AI eventually procures from the style that is put into the AI model. Because what we're seeking to do is to protect these styles.
Okay, sorry. Can you just introduce more what is glaze and
glaze.
how it works?
So AI glaze is something that you apply to an image in order for it to parang like distort it in order for the AI to have a harder time perceiving it. So that kasi what happens is artists upload their artworks online, right? And you want a way to protect AI from learning from their art to stop stealing their styles. So this glaze makes it hard for the AI to learn from the artist that is online.
It leverages a difference between how humans perceive art and how networks perceive art.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm finding the purpose not clear. Parang, okay, nagawa ko siya. I was able to find percentages of glaze, and then what comes after that?
The purpose then is for these artists to utilize this work. These artists will be able to utilize this glaze technology and use it in their own art to protect their works from AI model creators that use their art and use their styles privately without their consent to make AI-generated versions of their work, thus stealing the creativity that comes from making their art.
Oh, kasi you also forgot to mention, parang what percentage, what is the ideal percentage of glaze? Yun yung parang, okay, nasabi niyo ito mga percentages na to, parang, but what is the ideal glaze for me to say that this is AI generated? You may not answer me today, but the procedure, I find it lacking. Tapos, what are the implications and concerns regarding generative AI? What are your variables? How were your variables stated in your hypothesis?
The independent.
Pero the way what I'm trying to say is how your hypothesis was based. I don't see as much clarity. Kasi diba, your independent variable is what you actually, obviously you know that it's something that you control. Yung inception score is what is differentiated, yes. Pero, again, kulang pa siya. Because for people like us who's not involved in art, we don't see the value of inception score and to the integrity that the artist should gain, or at least to be protected for about the project. And I'm trying to look for sources about AI-generated art. Maraming references, but I don't see as much references that is in line with that. Yun lang.
Okay. I believe that concludes, unless Mix, you have any questions or that concludes the proposal of Group 1. Please give a round of applause to the Okay, thank you, thank you, presenters. What a fantastic start. You know what today's technology reminds me of, Flo?
What is it, Louis?
Glazed donuts. I'm so hungry.
Louis, we're along so let's keep it going. Next up, let's welcome the group of Mr. Jaden CBK, presenting their research with members Anika Inigo, Rafael Huerco, and Roca Garcia.
Maingat, disgrasya agapan. Good day, panelists. Good day, Tsuji. This is our group research presentation on an assessment of Commonwealth Avenue's pedestrian facilities using the pedestrian level of service, or the PLOS model. I am Jayden Pabankia, the principal investigator for this research, and joining me are my co-researchers and fellow groupmates, Anika Inigo, Ayel Cuerpo, and Rocco Garcia. Let's begin. To start with, poor public safety and urban planning is one of the most prevalent social realities in the Philippines, as seen in the MMDA's most recent Metropolitan Manila Accident Reporting and Analysis System report, released last 2023, which reported a total of 85,954 road crash cases in Metro Manila alone, with 52% of total fatalities sustained to drivers, 35% to pedestrians, and 13% to vehicle passengers. These casualties involve a combination of fatal and non-fatal injuries sustained by these individuals. Commonwealth Avenue, one of Metro Manila's 7 major roads, is no stranger to such accidents, and in fact has been the birthplace of a number of vehicular and pedestrian-related accidents, thus gaining notoriety as the killer highway of the Philippines. In fact, in this year alone, from January to mid-May, a total of already 981 transport-related accidents were recorded. We do not know how much this number has increased over the past few months, given that the year is about to end, but one thing is for sure: pedestrian safety remains a key area, road safety remains a key area of concern along this major thoroughfare. Next slide. With the rise in urbanization and an increase in population density, pedestrians are slowly becoming the most vulnerable road users. Commonwealth Avenue, to be specific, till this day remains a lot of pedestrian-related road crashes that occur on a regular basis, as seen in this table, which encompasses data from 2019 up until a partial report of 2024, sent by the MMDA via email, further showing that pedestrian safety must not be overlooked in comparison to regular vehicles on the road.
Now, onto a brief summary of our review of related literature. After going over previous studies, it was discovered that pedestrian safety levels are lower in low and middle income countries, or LMICs, as compared to high income countries, or HICs. This is due to the increased urbanization and lack of safety enhancement efforts in these countries. The Philippines, as a developing nation and a lower middle income country, faces the same struggles in terms of pedestrian safety. The weak implementations of existing safety policies, as well as the increased urbanization and population density, have deemed pedestrian safety enhancement efforts ineffective in the Philippines. The same case can be applied along Commonwealth Avenue, wherein common causes of pedestrian-related accidents include human error, pedestrian behavior. Additionally, previous infrastructural assessments have determined high levels of obstructions encroaching on roads, as well as the lack of fences along pedestrian footbridges, which makes the environment unsafe for pedestrians. However, all of these data date back to 2011 with no comprehensive assessment conducted over the last 5 years, which leads to the following research gap.
For our research gap, after a thorough analysis of the group's related literature, our group concluded that our research gap was that there is a significant knowledge gap on the current state of existing pedestrian facilities along Commonwealth, as well as their impact on the safety levels of pedestrians.
With that gap said, our group formulated two research questions. Aside from pedestrian behavior, what other factors come into play that affect pedestrian safety along Commonwealth Avenue? Connected to our first question comes the second. What ways can these said infrastructure can be further improved upon to promote safer environment for not only pedestrians but also commuters along Commonwealth Avenue?
With that, we have the conceptual or organized framework for the study, in which the researchers first aim to assess some parameters from a certain model, which is international standard based, namely the pedestrian level of service model, which will be given more detail in the slides to come. These parameters are appropriate as to existing pedestrian facilities along Commonwealth Avenue, such as sidewalks, zebra crossings, and pedestrian overpasses. These assessments will then be validated and further supported by perspectives of pedestrians on convenience and safety levels, which will then enable us as researchers to develop timely recommendations and solutions for the betterment and enhancement of Commonwealth Avenue's pedestrian facilities. With that being said, here we have our research design. You may have already had a hint earlier that we will be utilizing a mixed methods design, specifically an embedded design, in which we aim to utilize primary data coming from our assessments on parameters from this international standard-based model, the pedestrian level of service model, which encompasses a variety of quantitative and qualitative data analysis, to be further supported by qualitative data on perspectives from pedestrian surveys. Well, who are these pedestrians and who are these participants, and how did the researchers draw out an appropriate sample size as applicable for the study? Well, the target population for this study consists of general pedestrians and residents along Quezon City's 2nd Congressional District, namely the 5 most populated barangays of Quezon City's 2nd Congressional District, which runs through the entire stretch of Commonwealth Avenue. The respondents of the survey were individuals aged 18 years old and above, with no restrictions on gender, who regularly commute and make use of Commonwealth Avenue's pedestrian facilities. To draw out an appropriate sample size, the researchers first utilized a multi-stage, followed by a stratified random sampling technique. The total population of 738,328 across the 5 barangays was then narrowed down to the aggregate count of residents aged 18 years old and above, with this number being 479,930. Considering this, along with a 7% margin of error, a sample size of approximately 200 was derived using Sloven's formula. This number was then divided into varying age groups of participants, namely, with those being ages 18 to 29, ages 30 to 45, and ages 46 and above, with an equal amount taken from each stratum to ensure the unbiased and uniform representation of the data. Again, why do we conduct these surveys? To gain valuable insights into the commuting experiences of Commonwealth Avenue pedestrians, in an aim to better understand the overlaying factors at hand, and to further validate and support the researchers' assessments and findings. A door-to-door survey was conducted across the 5 barangays. To establish rapport with the interviewees, the researchers first aimed to obtain key background information such as their age, the location of pedestrian facility use, the type of pedestrian facility use, and the frequency of pedestrian facility use. They were then asked questions from a main survey consisting of a 5-point Likert scale, which addressed 2 key aspects of pedestrian walkability, with that being the Global Walkability Index and the pedestrian level of service model. These 2 characteristics include comfort or convenience and safety and security with their corresponding subparameters.
With the participants, sampling methods, and instruments stated, we move on to our presentations. By using the AHB-based pedestrian level of service, or the PLOS model, a model that is internationally standardized framework by Bishop, Gallego, and Steve, just this 2024, to assess the quality of pedestrian facilities and roads. And our procedure, we use the following parameters. First is the sidewalk width. Second is the presence of crossing opportunities. Third is the crossing spaces. And final is median refugee width.
So
So for our procedure, for the first parameter, that being sidewalk width, the standard set here is that the sidewalk width has a measurement that is greater than or equal to 1,800 millimeters, with our data collection method here being a direct measurement. For the second parameter, that being the presence of crossing opportunities, standard set here is that there is number one, there are existing zebra crossings and overpasses in areas where large crowds are present. And number two, there are median refugees, pedestrian signals, and traffic enforcers that are present in these pedestrian crossings. For the third parameter, that being crossing space, the standard set here is that it measures at least 2,000 millimeters to 3,000 millimeters, with the data collection method being direct measurement. And for the fourth and final parameter, being median refugee width, the standard set here is that the measurement is greater than or equal to 1,500 millimeters with a direct measurement data collection method. For data analysis, we are using a comparative data analysis for all the parameters, with data here being compared to international standards. It is also worth noting that the standards set here are following international and TLOS standards.
Finally, for our ethics clearance, given that our research will be involving human participants, we were required to apply for the Majorem Form 12. The participants were oriented on the objectives of the research as well as the nature of the questions to be asked. And they were also informed of their right to withdraw from the study without any consequence. And they were assured that the information they shared would be treated with utmost confidentiality and to the anonymization was utilized. Following the data retention and storage policies of the Ateneo de Manila University, the data collected from the surveys will be deleted exactly a year after the final research manuscript has been completed.
With that concludes our presentation. As a part of the researchers aim to be a part of infrastructure development and public safety enhancement initiatives in the country, we hope that this research will serve as a quality benchmark for future pedestrian inclined studies to be conducted around the country. Thank you so much. May mobility and public safety be made accessible and promoted for all Filipinos. Thank you so much. The floor is now open for queries and recommendations.
Before we start with the Q&A, a small reminder to the presenters to let the panelists finish talking before you start answering.
Your 5 minutes starts now.
I recognize the use of RRN, and it was very evident in the first part. Actually, their discussion of RRN is quite lengthy. I think you can shorten that. Tapos nakulangan ako dun sa part na you have to discuss your process. The information that you will be getting is actually useful. The problem is, who do you communicate it with? So, also, how do you actually process your data after you have gathered all of these? What do I mean by that? Who will help you assess? Kasi the understanding that you will be getting from this will end with you. Not unless you have to partner with an organization, a government agency, or with the barangay to process the information. Getting the sample data, I think 200 is too much. Okay? If you try to do it on your own and process it just for people doing it, it's quite difficult. To get the age group and your chosen barangay are the barangays that I'm not sure in terms of safety, in terms of how do you actually conduct it, because it really requires you so much time and effort to go Medicha. But if you're willing to undergo that, then go for 200. But 200 is too much. I think 100 is good. That's it.
Any comments on that?
Ma'am, thank you for that. Thank you for those recommendations po. With regards to the data collection procedure, it was listed there po that we have some expert guidance to be helping us out with our assessment. Specifically po, we've already contacted persons from the MMDA to help us out with some aspects of our research po. As well,
What are their positions?
I've contacted po Engineer Francisco Casino who is the head of the Traffic Engineering Center of Metro Manila po, and other key personnel in the MMDA such as Engineer Mar Anthony Santos po, who is the head of the processing data po, the head of the one who sent us the data on the pedestrian-related casualties. And with regards to the sample, with regards to 200 po, the data collection period and the surveying will be done over the course of 4 weeks po. So we believe that this will hopefully be enough. the data collection will be done over a period of 1 month po. Pero we may consider that suggestion naman po. Because, yes, indeed, 200 might be too much. So we'll see what we can do po with the sampling in the actual process.
You might also want to consider yung time and the day that you conduct the survey.
Yes.
Kasi iba yung data kapag weekly survey.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you po.
That's good.
See, I would like to commend the study. I think this is a very good introduction, and I think it addressed well the research question. And also having lived in the area, no, I'm very familiar with the pedestrian crossings and the sidewalk and all of that of Commonwealth. I'm not sure bakit Commonwealth. I feel like it has already a very safe na crossing na meron kang pedestrian cross bridge. Although paakyat baba siya dahil sa MRT, so parang gamit siya. But may I get a bit of context on why did you choose Commonwealth? I feel like it's a very established na highway. Maybe another location would have been more suitable for this, no? Kasi I feel like it's a very already improved in a way na location. So may I get your context on choosing the location?
So, for the reason for choosing Commonwealth, it's basically kasi some of us have had first-hand experience in seeing what accidents look like on the highway, and considering that Commonwealth is a highway that's used by many people daily, yearly. Our group felt that it was very important to assess the pedestrian facilities on this specific highway in order to see how we could better improve it.
Just to add to that maybe po, like also other areas maybe like EDSA, other were also considered. But given the fact that statistics up until this day show that these accidents happen on a regular basis, I believe this also mediates or necessitates us as researchers to maybe take a deeper look into why these still happen up until this day, given that governments may have had previous initiatives before. And nais lang rin po namin tingnan kung nagiging effective itong mga implementations po as part of the study. So, yun.
To add lang din po, with regards to the statistics available along Commonwealth Avenue, most of the road crashes involve vehicular users, which are mostly protected as compared to pedestrians who are more vulnerable, given that they don't have any protection around them. So, we also, through our research, we wanted to give more emphasis to the safety of these pedestrians, because in our research, in our review-related literature, there was also a less statistics and data on the safety of the pedestrians themselves, since most of the data was more concentrated on the vehicular users and vehicular-related accidents.
For the
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Group 2. Oh my God, Flo, you know, I just thought of a joke.
What is it doing?
Did you hear about the pedestrians who studied crosswalks for so long? They finally got run over by research fatigue.
Research fatigue? I guess they forgot to look both ways before diving into data. Following that, we have the group of Miss Alina Villarreal presenting their research with members Dior Gotham, Matthew Ketua, and Miguel Sonera.
Alright, good morning everyone, good morning Mix, good morning panelists, and good morning to my fellow classmates. We are group 7 of 11 Tsuji, here to present our research topic entitled An Assessment of Airflow within the Ateneo de Manila University Senior High School Formation Learning Center. I am Yelena Villarreal, the principal investigator of this group, and along with me are Matthew Ketua, Dior Gotham, and Nico Suyera. So let us start. The Philippine social reality we have highlighted in this presentation the low indoor air quality prevalent among infrastructures in the Philippines, such as schools or commercial buildings. The Philippines is a tropical country with severe different climate change, experiences high humidity and temperature levels throughout the year. These conditions, coupled with poor ventilation and adequate air filtration systems, contribute to low indoor air quality, or IAQ. Specifically, schools and commercial buildings are often overcrowded and poorly ventilated, only furthering the problem of poor IAQ. These environments from harbor pollutants such as dust, mold, and harmful gases impact the health and well-being of occupants.
Given this, we have come to the following conclusion for our guide. The air quality within the ASHS FLC lacks comprehensive data, particularly regarding concentration and variety of airborne pollutants. These pollutants, which can include particulate matter, carbon dioxide, volatile organic compounds, and other contaminants, are crucial indicators of indoor air quality, or otherwise known as IAQ, and can significantly impact the comfort, health, and productivity of the building's occupants. Without detailed measurements and analysis, it remains unclear how these pollutants interact with existing airflow and ventilation systems, limiting the ability to develop effective strategies for improving IAQ and ensuring occupant well-being.
So, on
To close this gap, we will be using these research questions as our primary objective for our study. The first would be, how does the Ateneo Senior High School Formation Learning Center compare to the recommended standards by ventilation and indoor air quality in education environments? The second research question, how does the architectural layout and features of the Ateneo Senior High School Formation Learning Center, or the FLC, impact the overall airflow within the building? And lastly, what areas within the Ateneo Senior High School Formation Learning Center experience inadequate airflow?
For our hypothesis and approach, our hypothesis is that indoor air quality within the ASHS FLC is not ideal. It's characterized by a lack of ventilation and a high amount of pollutants. Secondly, then, is that the study will use a quantitative approach as the study is made to assess airflow measures of the indoor air quality within the Ateneo Senior High School Formation.
So on to the review of related literature, we start by first defining what exactly good indoor air quality is. So according to the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, good air quality is characterized by clean air that contains only little amounts of pollutants and solid particles. So some examples of these very particles and pollutants include particulate matter, carbon monoxide, ozone, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. So next slide please. In the Philippines, multiple studies have already been conducted regarding indoor air quality across various public areas. One notable study, for example, is a study conducted by De La Cruz back in 2020, which assessed the indoor air quality of the northwest and southwest buildings of Puerto University. So in essence, the key findings were insufficient ventilation and high carbon dioxide concentration in these very areas. These studies also conclude that poor ventilation leads to the accumulation of pollutants, which are capable of triggering respiratory issues, fatigue, cognitive impairment when exposed to these pollutants for prolonged periods of time. As given by these common conclusions, airflow quantification truly aids in ensuring adequate ventilation, which proves it to be fundamental in assessing indoor air quality in these environments. So the two main guidelines were utilized across the researches that we have evaluated in the past, namely the standards provided by the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, or the ASHS, as well as the International Organization for Standardization. So we wish to utilize these very standards in evaluating the indoor air quality of the formation of the center.
So for the conceptual framework, for this assessment, we quantify airflow on the following metrics. Firstly, the average ventilation rate in an indoor environment compared to the rate in the FLC, where the ventilation rate is measured by its air change per hour ACH value, the mean air quality of the FLC in comparison and contrast to the IAQ index, and the quantification of limit values of select indoor pollutants as they relate to the quality and airflow of the building. We evaluate through national and international indoor environmental quality standards that specify indoor environmental conditions and
considered acceptable and compares the requirements for acceptable air quality across international standards, such as the International Organization for Standardization, the World Health Organization, and the American Society for Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, and the quality of airflow to the minimum airflow rate per station.
Now, moving on to our research design. To ensure accurate data collection for airflow and IAQ assessment for the ASHS FLC, equipment will be calibrated and tested using known standards to ensure precision. Measurements will then be taken at 5 square meters throughout the facility to account for variations in airflow and pollutant contaminants. Data collection will occur every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with recess, lunch, and with additional measurements during Monday PE sessions to capture the high activity impacts that occur within the facility. This systemic approach ensures comprehensive and reliable data across critical and peak usage periods.
So the standards that we will be using, as mentioned earlier, to evaluate the inter-air quality of the Formation Learning Center will be based on the 2010 World Health Organization European Center for Environmental and Health, as well as the 2022 ASHS Standards 62.1 and 62.2 compiled by the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, as well as the standards created by the International Organization for Standardization. So as mentioned earlier, we will be utilizing these standards in assessing the indoor air quality of the building.
For our sampling method, our main type is purposive sampling for two reasons. One, as stated before in our gap, we want to target the FLC as not enough info relating to its air quality and concentration of pollutants present in the air. And two, we also want to target the FLC because it's the most accessible. And we also want to target the third floor of the FLC. And as stated earlier during our research design, this research will occur in a span of 2 weeks, with Wednesday, and Friday. And 4 instances will be studied. The first 2 are recess and lunch. This is because this will reflect the amount of airflow in the FLC on average days. And for the third one will be during physical education classes, which is the same reason as the recess and lunch. However, the FLC is being used directly for physical activity. The last instance is optional but would yield the most results as is during big gatherings. Big crowded rooms have the least amount of airflow.
So for laboratory equipment, as anemometer and air quality meter and nephelometer will be used, the instruments will be used in this research. Anemometer is an instrument that measures wind speed and wind pressure, recording the data in kilometers per hour, miles per hour, or knots. An air quality meter has sensors that measure the concentration of contaminants that measure human health and the climate, including particles in the air such as temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, formaldehyde, benzene, PM2, etc. A nephelometer is an instrument that measures the concentration of particles suspended in liquid or gas, or the degree of cloudiness. We'll be able to access all this equipment through the Manila Observatory.
As stated earlier in our research design, equipment will be calibrated and tested to ensure accuracy on gathering data on the air pollutant values and ventilation rates on the FLC third floor. Measurements will be taken at 5 square meters to cover the area served. The mean of each variable will be calculated weekly and compared to indoor air quality standards. Data collection will occur every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the recess and lunch, with an additional PE session on Mondays, ensuring a consistent schedule across the different activity sessions.
So in analyzing our variables, as already mentioned earlier, we will be taking the mean of each variable for each week. So meaning we have a mean for every variable in the first week and a mean for every variable in the second week. We'll be comparing these values to the standards provided by the ASHS, the WHO, and the ISO in accordance with the variables that we measured. So by doing this, we'll be able to evaluate indoor air quality based on how close these values compare to the standards that we'll be comparing these values with. And finally, regarding ethics command, we were really required to fill up the ADUREC 12.5 form as our study does not involve any human participants or living samples. So with that, this is our research topic, and we are now open to Questions or comments? Looks like
Your 5 minutes for Q&A starts now.
I have a question regarding the statement for your research problem. I find it already kind of leaning towards one side. So, for example, your question is already parang assuming that it will have negative results. So, for example, you say, what areas lack ganyan airflow, di ba? Pero you're still assessing di ba? Or you are yet to assess. So, bakit meron ng ganong statement na leaning to or bias towards negative results, di ba? And you don't know that yet, supposedly, di ba? Or quantitatively, or siguro nararamdaman ninyo, pero wala pa tayong direct measure. So, I would suggest rephrasing to avoiding that bias towards one side. And then, how about, you mentioned that you are going to conduct your research during breaks. But how about during like big events? Would it make any difference kung mas maraming tao doon compared to like it's a break, walang tao doon? How would you mention that in your research proposal or method?
Like during big gatherings po. That's the final instance po that we will attempt the study po kasi we're not completely sure if we're allowed to we're not allowed to conduct the study during big gatherings and big events.
And with the addition of PE classes every Monday, since we have PE classes every Monday, and with the presence of a lot of students already engaging in physical activity, I think we'll be able to assess or parang quantify the pollutants in that specific session where there are a lot of people gathering.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I feel like for me, it makes us quite in terms of assessing the airflow. And if you want to assess the airflow of a certain area, you have to do it the entire day, not just on selective. Kasi parang na siya preempted na yung data nyo. And then, if it would be, for points for improvement also, parang the occupant comfort can be varied. Parang it is not necessarily that the airflow is good, occupant is comfortable. Because even if the airflow is not that good, some people can be comfortable with it. Maybe a revision of the title will be beneficial. I'm not sure how you wanted to do it. And then, 5 square meters. So, ako parang kung 5 square meters lang yung pinaka-range ng airflow mo, parang ang hirap i-determine yung airflow. And you cannot control how air flows for 5 meters. Diba? Kasi 5 meters lang dun So,
for every 5 square meters of the house. And then we
Okay.
calculate the average per session.
yeah, it wasn't explained earlier. So, kaya yung I don't know. I feel like there's already bias when it comes to the selection of areas. So, I don't think it's pointless to do the study kung may predetermined areas. Why not go for the entire effect? Then, compare it from kasi baka mali kayo, diba? Tapos may ibang areas na limit.
Sana mali kayo.
Sana tama kasi mas mali kayo. I don't know. Diba? Anyway, that's it for me.
One of the things that you also have to consider is the anemometer. You're going to, again, borrow from endpoints. And we can only borrow around 3 anemometers. So, I guess that's like one of the limitations also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright, ang galing talaga but unfortunately, we have to wrap it up for today.
Exactly. Super nakaka-inspire. Okay, due to time constraints, we'll be continuing this proposal tomorrow with a different set of panelists in the research group. So, to wrap this up, we'd like to thank everyone who made this program possible. Firstly, thank you to the wonderful panelists who have given the group constructive criticism they can implement and grow.
And thank you also to the tech support team who provided the guidance and camera.
Okay, so let us please stand up for a closing prayer. Everyone, please do your sign of faith. Dear God, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to be able to witness the proposals of several groups of 11 students. Please let us, especially the presenters, leave today armed with the knowledge to improve their future research-related endeavors here at Earth. Guide us also and may become the next generation of innovators who will lead this world to a greener future. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Again, I'm your host, Luis.